I really longed for something that just made you feel good, that was a celebration of connectivity and belonging, that was, a story about a character finding a home. That the values embedded in the underlying material and in the script were so powerful and such an antidote to kind of life and a little bit what we've been seeing on screen and on the streaming services, edgy, dark. It was like water in the desert to come upon something that had such a kind of pure heart and be so winning and be so entertaining. So for me, going back to my studio days, I'd certainly done a lot of what I would call more family-oriented films, and Night at the Museum or Cheaper by the Dozen, or things that spoke to those values. But I'd not done it as a producer, and this is the first thing that I'd run across that really felt like it could be entirely unique and special and achieve all those values. As much whimsy as the script had, the choice on the part of Will and Josh, the directors, was to really root this and ground this in the real world, which, that is much more compelling to me than, and maybe that's a courtesy of doing some of these, the kind of superhero films, but wherever you could evoke a sort of a real emotional circumstance, those were always the most compelling moments. And the idea of trying to do that with a singing crocodile is particularly challenging and exciting. I think Will and Josh, as filmmakers, had a lot to do with why I wanted to participate, because their vision is such a full-hearted commitment to that reality and to wanting to make you feel that this character exists in our world right now, that you could turn the corner and run right into Lyle, that you could be walking through Times Square and see him on the Jumbotron, kind of in a moment from the movie. And that commitment extends not just to the production design and, to the casting, but really and most importantly to the performances. And I think that's part of what made us all, but them first and foremost, along with Sony, frankly, so passionate about having Javier Bardem in the film, was what he would bring as an actor of his caliber to a very complicated character who could easily have been a more traditional villain and who instead is a sort of winning and charming anti-hero of many colors. And, that ambition on their part as the means by which to bring Lyle to an audience was really exciting to me, and something that was kind of the true north of the whole journey of the film. I'd never done a musical before, so the learning curve was really steep. And I think for all of us, we were fortunate in that we had Pascal Paul, Greatest Showman, Dear Evan Hansen, among others, La La Land, who were our composers and who also would help guide us. They were also executive producers, so they could help guide us on how best to go about this. But even with that, it's a whole new dimension to filmmaking. We knew what we were looking for. We were looking for, sort of a transcendent voice, an angelic voice, one that felt that they lived and thrived in, at least vocally, in a contemporary world. It was not a period, that was not the instinct. And we did have to search around a little bit, but I think unanimously, when we hit on Shawn, we all felt this is it. And the challenge became, would he share our passion and enthusiasm for himself playing that role? And luckily, it took a long time, but luckily he did. And as evidenced by, as soon as we went into any of, once we got to the stage where we could do pre-records with him, which are obviously pretty important for when we go to shoot any of those sequences, it was, instant synchronicity, instant. And effortless.